now we've got the Spreydon Cashmere Community Board. Good morning.
Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora.
Can I just start by thanking Aaron Kean? You could. Well, no. I was going to say to add our award to his collection. Just for raising the issue of disability car parks along St Asaph, our board has raised for years, literally years, the idea of having a disability box in all projects proposed. I can't believe that St Asaph would have gone from the Polytech through to the central city without a disabled car park if there had been a box in the report which said, is this going to assist or be contrary to disability accessibility. And people who try and come into the town do need to know that there's going to be a disabled car park available to them. And Aaron raised this, and it was in the paper this morning. I'd like to thank him for that and endorse what he has said. Can I also mention, Vicky, I'd love to know when that meeting is going to be held on the lighting. Can I just comment briefly that I hope that any increase in lighting in the inner city is not at the expense of people or the bees on the roof of Ara, because that constant flashing of lights, etc., is contrary to local fauna and flora. Okay. Pardon? I'll remember that. I think not, probably. We've got two Part A's. One is Vista Place and Royston Way, which we've discussed before at this council meeting. And the other one is Spreydon School's Care Crossing, which is slightly incongruous because the flashing light, the Spreydon School's going on to Manning, the site of Manning Intermediate. And the flashing light for the 40k limit has turned on at 8:30 every morning since Manning left 4 years ago, turned off at 9, turned on at 3 and turned off at 3:30. So the locals are going to have to be retrained that 40k actually means 40k now that there's going to be a school on the site. But so those are our two Part A's. With regard to events and issues of, we had two large public meetings on the land drainage recovery program. There always seems to be so much emphasis on the east, quite rightly, that we too tend to think that we are forgotten along the Heskett River, and the numbers of houses, as you all know, that are vulnerable to our river are increasing. It almost seems like on a daily basis. The floods this last winter would have been terrifying for our residents. Lying in their beds at night listening to the rain fall would have been unbearable for them and many of them who are around this area in the river. The two meetings were held as we now hold them, with a broad introduction at the beginning and small group meetings afterwards. It has to be said that there's always a little bit of anger that people can't put their points before the larger meeting, and the staff do address this really well, but it remains a point of contention amongst some people that they can't talk about some of the issues they want to discuss in front of the larger meeting. But these meetings were very well attended, and the staff, as is usual in the drainage and water area on the council, were brilliant, as they always are when we're talking about the five waters. The Hoonhay Hoops, these guys have come and seen us at the community board 4 or 5 times. And every time they come, their confidence is increasing about public speaking, and every time they come, they've been better organised and been through seminars with our staff, Emma Pavey, and Solomon Smith, talking about how to move a project on, how to run a project, how to get the results that they want in terms of the community. This is the same group that are going for lighting in Hoonhay Park. This is a park that's so well used by local young people. The bloke in the centre in the back row, Michael, is the leader. He's becoming enormously skilled at presenting to the community board and in understanding the needs of an event organisation. All of these people spoke on the microphones and ran the event, and they did it successfully. It's always great to see them when they come to the community board.
Wow.
What does it mean?
Me and Tenja. Yeah.
Just occasionally, I think. Sometimes in the wrong place. Spreydon Cashmere Edible Garden Awards. We've just introduced this year, and this is the pamphlet that staff have produced. City Council, notwithstanding the paper ban, which I loathe, Leanne.
I love it.
The publications are always brilliant from the council staff. And but we're hoping to change the title slightly next year to make it Spreydon Cashmere Sustainable and Edible Garden Awards. But we have got a sustainable category this year, and it's not competitive. We're going to give awards to all those people who have got a lovely vegetable garden or fruit garden, or any kind of not necessarily lovely at all, and who have got sustainable features in their garden. And to add that to our very popular Beautiful Garden Awards. And the whole pamphlet's here. And we've pinched the idea of Papanui Innis, I have to say that. And we've pinched the expertise as well. This is the Vista Place restrictions that you'll be voting on. It's from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. We weren't helped by the media saying it was going to be 5 days a week. I had an irate phone call about that. It is going to be 7 days a week if it's accepted by the council. And another thing I want to add to this, often when we stop traffic in a particular area, we're shifting the problem on. But I've driven up from Vista Place. Vista Place used to be at the top of Huntsbury Hill and be falling down the hill. It's a popular walkway to walk up Huntsbury and then go down Vista Place, go down the steps, go down Walker Terrace back to Centaurus Road. That was a popular walkway. We now have a sort of mini suburb above Vista Place on the hill, but I've been up there, and there is no place like Vista Place where we will be moving the cars to. Up the hill is tiny little roads, narrow, with no particular spot that would be separated from housing or where people could park up and look at the view and perhaps cause a nuisance. I have to say that I've also commented in the past that it is a shame, because my daughter, for instance, rang me from Sydney and said that they used to do park up out the back of Broad Oaks development, sorry, and do what late teens, early 20s do, and not be a nuisance to their neighbours. And so it's a shame that the activity has been terribly unbearable for the people who live in proximity to Vista Place, because if they had been doing the same things in an isolated area on the Summit Road, then they probably would still be doing it, because they wouldn't have been causing any problem to any neighbours. So the increasing growth of Christchurch is pushing young people out into other areas where they can do what young people do. And then there's the Have Your Say on the Tree and Urban Forest Survey. I have a long-standing objection to the title of this. I think the exclusion of the word bush shifts people's thinking not to our native trees, indigenous flora, but into exotics, because that is the nature of New Zealanders' thinking about what the word forest means. And I think we've got a bit of a road to hoe to encourage New Zealanders to think that forest also incorporates New Zealand bush. And I wish the title was Tree and Urban, Bush and Forest Survey. But I've said it repeatedly and I haven't got anywhere on that. I think this title reflects Northern Hemisphere values and not our values. But there you go. The survey is open from 1 November to 1 December and we hope we get a good response.
Consultations.
And pardon?
We had consultations.
Oh, we've had. Oh, yeah, we did. I forgot about that. We've had 2 consultations on this in our own ward, and the first one, and this is the first ever that we've tried this. We had a consultations for minority communities in our ward, and it was well attended. But not hugely well attended, but we had a dozen people come to talk to us about forests in their areas, and we got points of view. For instance, a couple of people from India said to us that they really love trees, but they hoped for the sake of their warmth that the trees wouldn't block the sun into their houses. I can understand that, and that was really interesting in the community. And the food for the minority ethnicities seminar was miles better than the food for the all the other participants that came to the second meeting. So that's it.
Very good. Well, maybe we should advertise the link to, again, the Christchurch City Council website for the Christchurch Tree and Urban Forest Survey, because in that it makes it clear Christchurch and Banks Peninsula have a mix of native and exotic trees that support biodiversity and reinforce our identity, and then what trees give us. So it does talk about both in that context. But,
I know, but the title's a bore.
I'll talk to the chief executive about whether we can throw in an extra word. Yeah. Well, can I just get Tim and Phil? You're happy to move in second, right? Just Vicky. That stuff that you stole from Papua New Guinea on edible and sustainable gardens. Could you give it to Gary, who's sitting behind you, so we could also steal it?
I've got the pamphlet.
Yeah.
Yes. I also forgot to mention our pamphlet, which introduces our people to the ward. For the first time, we got something to give to the people in our ward, which tells what the community board does and who the people are.
Fantastic. Yanni.
Thank you. You didn't mention much about page 51, the district plan zoning provisions.
Oh God, I hate people who read stuff ahead, Yanni.
We've made this request as well, and I just wondered what coordination is happening around council and the community board, because it won't just be unique to your board. I note there has been some quite highly publicised cases, which there's other areas too where people are struggling to understand. So have you got any sense of how we're working as a council with your community board around this issue?
No. Do I have a sense of this?
No, but I do.
There's a plan to host a seminar early in the new year.
In the new year.
But I guess that what you've raised here is that there may be other parts of the city that are equally confused about the changes that have been made to the district plan, and this may in fact be a very good model for other community boards to consider as well.
We've asked the staff for 2 seminars, one on alcohol licensing and how to present on alcohol licensing, but also facts on the impact of increased numbers of outlets in our wards. So we've asked for a seminar on that, and we've also asked for a seminar on the district plan to assist our people to be able to represent on the issues of the changes in the district plan.
But we've also asked as council for a public information campaign around the district plan, which we haven't.
Sorry, I don't have that resolution in front of me. So, but let's.
It'd be good to tie it in together.
Yeah, let's take that offline, because I personally think that this is something that each of the community boards would actually get some value out of, in terms of understanding themselves what the implications of the plan changes are for their own areas, and also to have a shared learning experience with their own residents who are equally concerned. Tim?
Can I just add on that before Tim speaks, that I've really been an advocate of the design panel, because I don't think it's used enough in these situations, because we've got instances of intensive housing in Addington which is just great, and I've taken photographs of it and sent it round to our board members. And we've got instances in 2 streets in our ward of absolutely appalling intensive housing, which should never be allowed and looks like bloody Russian.
Yeah, some of those some of them were actually approved under the previous plan.
Oh, I must mention that.
Just saying.
Tim, they're not going away. That's for sure. So, and I guess the 2 points, because I've worked with the community around Studham Street, the 2 things are that they will be asking is one is can we and when can we change and re-look at this, because it isn't for that area, and some of those areas it isn't what those communities should have and have to put up with. The other thing is a learning for our side of things is when we go out and look at district changes, etc. One of the things we called it was Barrington, but no one in that community refer to themselves as Barrington, because Barrington is a mall.
Yeah.
We've got Summerfield, we've got Spreydon, we've got Hoon Hay, we've got all these areas. So when the plan came out, none of the locals really thought it was them.
No, they didn't.
So that's a real learning, and we've got to, as a council, we've got to take those on board. So hopefully through this, or not hopefully, we have to take on board all of those things when we are looking at that, and work as we should do as one team.
And another example of that is the proposals for Craycroft, and in terms of the adventure park, etc. On the council calls it Hoon Hay Valley, which is ridiculous.
Right. All right. So I've got that moved and seconded. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. And we've also got